Now, this area is completely new for me. I have not been here before.
Really?
A lot of other areas I have seen already, but not here.
So this one, before, there's a past plasma down of Dr. Jose Rizal. But because of the administration of Intramuros, they changed this place.
I like to see it and hear everything. I love it.
Welcome to the shrine of Jose Rizal. Jose Rizal was one of the most important figures who shaped the history of modern Philippines and the formation of the independent republic. He can be considered a tragic hero, as he died very young, at the age of just 35 years old, when he was executed by the Spanish government in the year 1896, 2 years before independence. The sham trial of his supposed involvement in the push towards independence resulted in a quick conviction by the Spanish court, which led to his heartbreaking execution. His death sparked a nationwide outrage amongst Filipinos. He was seen as a martyr for the independence movement, which kick-started the spark of the revolution more than any other event leading up to it. It is a bit ironic though, since during his life, Jose Rizal was promoting reforms in the relationship between Spain and the Philippines, from being a colony to becoming a province with equal rights for all and not all-out independence. Wow, this is the actual photo of the execution of Dr. Jose Rizal. I did not think that such a thing was made. There were so many people there, look at that, because he was a monument already, he was a legend, a living legend.
Dr. Jose Rizal is about 5 feet, or maybe lower than 5.
So, besides all the things that Dr. Jose Rizal was already known for, as an entomologist, as somebody who could speak many different languages, as a teacher, his grace can be seen right here. Not going to be very easy to see it, but needless to say, he did really well. What I think is also pretty interesting is some of the sculptures that he's made and some of the drawings that he made. He really had an amazing talent in so many things. His views were seen as dangerous by the Spanish authorities, who decided it was better to just silence him and make an example of him for others who would follow in his steps. What a major backfire that turned out to be. So he was also apparently good at fencing too, among so many other things. During his lifetime, he was a brilliant scholar, doctor, and engineer, as well as a very long list of other talents. The only person that I can think of to at all compare to him in all of American history was the brilliant mind of Benjamin Franklin, arguably the most important framer of the US Constitution. And this is supposedly the very last photo taken of him before the execution. This could be a pretty cool photo.
Oh my God.
Not a very convenient walk to take, being hand-bound and leg-bound at the same time. That's the last march that Dr. Jose Rizal took before his execution. Jose Rizal will always be remembered as one of the Philippines' greatest of heroes, and his legacy will be remembered forever.
So that jail was used by the Japanese, and that's of the American soldier who came there. And how the Japanese gave the food for them is just throwing the food for the American soldiers.
This is where the American soldiers were kept?
Yeah.
During the Japanese occupation between 1942 and 1945, Allied prisoners of war, resistance fighters, and political prisoners were kept locked up in these cells, as well as cramped in dungeons here in Fort Santiago. Besides acting as prisons, these dungeons were also a way for the Japanese to execute their prisoners by starvation and drowning them while saving their own ammunition. It's a shame. Beautiful view and such a horrible, sad history of this place. This is actually where people were escaping through the tunnels from the cathedral using this path over here. It's an underground passageway. About 600 American prisoners and an unknown number of Filipinos died from drowning, starvation, or suffocating from being held in extremely tight quarters in the dungeons.
This is the famous dungeon. It was used by the Japanese. They put 600 people inside. Some of them died because they don't have air to breathe, and then food. Nobody's want to give them something.
400
And then
people, sure.
600.
600.
600
Yeah.
to feed 600 people.
And then there is a flood from the river. The flood came here,
Come on.
and 253 bodies discovered in this area, and some of the body flow to the
Oh, come on.
yes. So this is the famous legend. So as I said, sir, we have a Jesuit church before in the public university. So this is in front of the church. This is the Lourdes Church, or today it is the Ilustrado restaurant.
Restaurant.
A restaurant today.
That's a beautiful restaurant.
No, sir, it's already destroyed the church.
Oh, yeah.
But today, silahis or handicraft like that. And then inside it's a restaurant.
Alright. Here are the models of the 7 churches of Intramuros, only a bigger version from the one we saw earlier. Most of these buildings have gone through many revisions over the years, as they have all been either heavily damaged by earthquakes over the centuries or have been completely demolished during the Battle of Manila in 1945. But most have been partially reconstructed or had been rebuilt from the ground up. It's a real shame that the Japanese forces just flat out refused to surrender, which led to the complete bombardment and obliteration of most of Manila when the Americans started attacking, and the air raids just leveled the whole city. It was a horrible massacre. It was a month-long battle from February 3rd to March 3rd in 1945. During that month-long battle, about 100,000 civilians died during the complete destruction of the city. It was such a sad and awful sight afterwards. Sadly, most of these structures are not around today anymore because they were destroyed either by fire, by war, or by earthquakes, or some combination of them. But some of these are still around, so we can at least enjoy them today still. So, yeah, this is the end of, that was the tour that we had. 3.5 hours that we enjoyed walking around in Intramuros historical sites. After moving here from New York City and having lived in Manila for just over a year, it would be an understatement to say that I had fallen in love with the city. The rich history, vibrant culture, warm weather, and the people so full of love and joy make living here a place like no other. And no place in Manila exemplifies the deep history of this place like the walled city of Intramuros. Much like the Vatican is to Rome, it is truly a city within a city. Walking the streets here and experiencing some of the history, you really can't help but to be in awe of how much this city and its people have gone through over the past half millennia. The city, as well as the whole country, has gone through a lot of change in its turbulent history, from the original indigenous people who lived in these islands, to the Muslim traders and Rajas who had conquered them, to the Spanish conquistadors who had colonized most of the nation as part of their vast empire, and fought off Chinese pirates and British invaders, then handing off the reins of power to the Americans who, with the help of brave Filipino guerrilla fighters, have fought off the Japanese occupation in some of the most brutal fighting to take place in the Pacific during World War II, followed at last by independence from all foreign powers in 1946. As my wife's friend Prince once said, we need to understand the geopolitics of the region as well as the time when history is being shaped. Geography answers the general question of where, while history answers the question of when, and geopolitics ties it all together by answering the question, why? The most valuable thing I learned from this whole tour is the history of Jose Rizal. I have long known that he was one of the central figures behind the Philippine Revolution from Spain, but during the tour I got more back of the story behind the legend. His biggest claim to fame in the movement towards independence was his writing of his 2 published novels, Noli Me Tangere, or Touch Me Not, and its sequel, El Filibusterismo, The Reign of Greed. These books are so enlightening that they awakened the consciousness of the Filipino people, as well as the Spanish government in Spain, who had no idea of the atrocities and the crimes that the friars and the government officials were doing against the Filipinos. It's part of the propaganda movement of the Ilustrados, or the Enlightened Ones. These are the well-educated Filipinos who all went and gathered in Spain to push their agendas for the benefit of the Philippines to become an independent government. Since these novels were banned in Spain, they were distributed secretly, much like illegal drugs, and people read them in secret. It became an inspiration for the Filipino working class, the educated and those who can read, to revolt against Spain. By the time that the revolutionary Katipunan movement led by Andres Bonifacio was well underway, Jose Rizal was hoping for a nonviolent reform by trying to appeal to the Spanish-European sense of justice. But this was not to be, since his negotiations were cut short by his trial and execution. After that, a violent revolution against Spain was all but inevitable. Still, even after having suffered through all of that, the people of this city, as well as the rest of the country, never seem to lose the sense of joy in their hearts, and the children in the streets never forget to smile, as every neighborhood is filled with the smells of delicious food and the sounds of laughter. Today, the city is full of progress as it invests more heavily in its infrastructure to constantly build itself up into the future. Sure, there's still lots of room to grow, as the streets are always congested, and heavy traffic is the name of the game when trying to make your way through the city, but change is in the air. A new highway system is being built, and plans are well on the way to build a brand new subway transit system, which will do wonders to modernize the way that people get to and from work, as well as connect the different parts of the city like never before. And now it is your turn to interact with me. I would love to have some of your feedback in the comments section about your thoughts about hopefully having seen all 4 of my Intramuros tour videos from the start. I still have one more video from that day still to come, which is set in the iconic Barber's Heritage restaurant inside Casa Manila, which was hinted at in the previous video. So this is it. I hope that you have enjoyed all 4 of these tour videos, and if you did, please click the like button and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and you will keep getting more exciting videos coming at you from the Time-Lapse Traveler.